It's time to complain about our wives. Again. Welcome to Tabletop Shop.
Hello and welcome back to the Tabletop Shop podcast. This week we're talking about the hottest Bonsai type game from 2023, and then we will lament further about our wives. I'm one of your co-hosts, Nate Clark, and as always, seated all the way across the country from me is your other co-host, Mr. Cody, great-grandson of a rabid man subdued by 12 police officers, Pennington.
Ah, you know it. Yep, Clyde Pennington, age 41. Look it up. The one of the last people to get killed by rabies in Orange County, California. My great
One of the last people in Orange County, California specifically.
Yeah. Hey, I talked to my dad today about that story, and he had some more information for me that I didn't realize. Apparently,
all right.
He died like a year after he got that dog bite. He just refused to get the rabies shot. And
No.
the whole thing about him taking it requiring 12 police officers to take him down. So apparently, I didn't know this. Clyde Pennington was a very large man, like over 6'3" or something like that, and not an overweight gentleman, just like well built. And apparently, he used to be like a brick transporter man. How you take that like a oxen yoke type thing that you put on your shoulders, like back in the old days, so you can carry heavy things like buckets of water. You know what I'm saying?
Okay, yeah.
Those things, hods, I think they were called. Apparently, he had like the largest specialized hod because he could just carry so much stuff. So it's probably why it took 12 police officers to take him down.
Probably because he was throwing bricks at him.
Yeah, it could be that. But anyway, maybe that's why it took him a year to die from rabies.
Oh, jeez. Yeah, I was going to say, I feel like it happens a lot faster than that. Like, I'm pretty sure if you have a vaccine, you still need to go see a doctor within 48 hours. And if you don't have a vaccine, I think you only have like 24 hours typically. That's the information I have. People at home, you can fact check me.
I know very little about this, but my dad was making it sound like the incubation period of it is like 2 weeks or something. So like it is a delayed thing.
Okay.
But I don't know, man. Apparently my grandpa, who was like 18 at the time, also got bit by the same dog. And his mom, his mom persuaded him to go get the shot. So that's probably why he didn't die, and that's why I sit here before you today, halfway across the country on a microphone, talking about my great-grandfather who died of rabies while fighting 12 police officers.
You know, he got that shot so that you don't have to spend $1,500 today to get the same shot. So
Yeah, exactly. It's great.
All right,
what
Cody.
a weird way to start the podcast.
Intro question for you, and you have to do this from memory. All right?
Okay.
What is your favorite game that you don't own?
Oh, favorite game that I don't own.
So what would be highest on your current top 100 that is not actually in your collection?
So I can't pull up my top 100 and look at it right now? I just have
you
to
can
think about
after you
this?
guess. I want you to guess first, and then you can give us the real answer.
Probably Terraforming Mars is going to be the easiest bet.
The original, okay.
Yeah, the original. Because it's like one of the few games that I like a lot that I have not purchased yet. I probably need like a second guess, just in case. What games do you own that I like? The thing is, I've bought most of the games that I like, either from you or in addition to ones that you already own.
Right.
So, yeah, I'm going to stick with TM. Let me pull up and see.
Okay.
And I'm assuming you have your own answer and that you haven't cheated and looked at your list in advance.
I haven't even thought about it, so I'm thinking about it right now.
Let's see. Starting from the top, I have Scythe, Brass. I want to see. Oh, wow. It's number 20, so I own my top 19.
Wow.
And Terraforming Mars was the game. Do I
Dude,
really own all of them?
nice. Good memory. Wow.
Thank you. I'm proud of that. Very proud of that. All right, what's your guess?
I'm guessing it's Wayfarers. Would be my assumption. Because I'm also thinking through your collection, obviously. Oh, shoot.
Oh
No,
no,
it's
I missed one. I made a
me
mistake
too.
on mine. Apparently I had Wormspan at 17. That's one I don't
Ah,
own.
or not Lorenzo. I own that. Terra Mystica is the highest one that I don't own.
What number is that?
4.
4. Oh. So you're slacking if your number 4 game you don't own? Come on, man.
Well, like a friend of mine owns it, so like anytime I want to play it, and he's the only person I
Oh,
play it
sure.
with, anyways. So it's like, what's the point?
Yeah. I mean, that's how Tapestry was for me for a while.
Sure.
And
Yeah,
then
you had
I
no
had to
reason
buy
to
it.
own it.
Yeah.
All right, Cody. Perchance, do you have any new games to talk about?
Oh, I'm so glad you asked, man. I do. Mostly expansions, though. But we can talk
That
about new
counts. That
expansions
counts,
here,
man.
right? All right. I played the Cartographer's Hornhelm expansion by your
Okay.
recommendation. So you already know
Okay.
about that. And we've
I
even
do.
talked about it on the show before. So what I'll just say is that I was a little bit disappointed with it. It was still interesting, but I found that the points I got out of those items that you can purchase in the game barely outperformed the points I would have gotten from just keeping coins throughout the game. So maybe I just played it poorly, and I've only played it once so far, but I would expect an expansion like that to kind of give you a bigger, more interesting score, like give you more opportunities, not to just like it's kind of uninteresting if I could have just done half of the work and gotten the same amount of points. You know what I mean? So yeah, so that was kind of my experience. From what you've played, do you normally get bigger scores if you do it well?
I mean, I've never gone back and done the math to like, okay, when did I get the coins? How many times would I have scored them, etc.
Yeah.
Usually, and I don't remember what the spread, not the spread, but like what the scale is and how many points you can get. Usually, I'm somewhere around the middle of that bar. There's been a couple games where I've gone closer to like the 3/4 section of that bar. Same with Anna. So I think a handful, most games, I'm pretty sure I outperformed what the coins would have done. But maybe not every game.
Okay. Okay, so there was that. I played that. I also played the Paladins of the West Kingdom expansion, City of Crowns,
Whoa, okay.
which it was not like game bending or breaking or anything. It basically just adds a few new cards of each type, which adds a little bit of intrigue. Do you know the 3 red objective cards that get revealed like in the first 3
Yes.
turns? It adds a few more of those, and you actually deal one out to each player, so you have a personal objective.
Okay.
But even that's not really an expansion. It's just kind of saying take an extra card and get some points off of it, you know. But then what it did add is, let's see, it adds a 4th attribute in addition to the other 3 that you have that you're moving up and down. Not up and down. You're trying to push up. And then it adds like 2 actions that sort of function inside of it. That they do a couple of things. Neither Kirsten or I really spent much time on those extra actions, but one of them like lets you trigger other actions at, I think, at a cheaper rate. So maybe if your build action now is going to cost you like 3 provisions or something, you can go over here and trigger the build action with the new action they made and only pay like 1 resource. So it's kind of a little workaround like that to help you do other things. And then it just adds a little kind of classic Shem Phillips symbol scoring system. Kind of like how Viscounts have, like the first person to get 3 of like the cross symbols, you get like the little booklet thing that gives you a couple points. And then if you have like a variety of the different types of symbols, I think there's like 4 symbols. So if you get one set of all 4 symbols, you get to score like 15 points. So it's just kind of using some of the other Shem Phillips mechanisms. Yeah.
Did you buy this or you just played it somewhere?
No, I think Kirsten got it for me as a birthday present
Okay.
or something.
Like worth owning or not, do you think?
I'd say it's worth it. Just because I don't think it's that expensive and it just adds a couple other things. But I mean, you'd be fine to just get old plain Paladins and not play without it. But if you're a big fan, sure, add it.
Would you
get some more
play
variability.
without City of Crowns now?
I mean, since I have it, I would pull City of Crowns out each time, I think.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
Well, that's always good then.
And
right?
even if I was teaching a new person, like it doesn't make it that much more complicated. Like, yeah, well, Paladins is pretty complicated.
With that fourth track, it seems like it might be kind of weird.
Maybe a little bit, and yeah, you kind of do have to teach 2 more little mini mechanisms, but yeah. Anyway, City of Crown. So I was neutral. It was pretty good.
Okay.
Then I played the Cascadia expansion, which might be a little more intriguing to you, because do you own Cascadia?
No,
Or
we
you've
played
just
it a
played
handful of times in Germany, but I don't actually own it right now.
Okay, gotcha. But yeah, landmarks. It adds 3 more scoring cards for each animal.
Good. Jeez.
And they added 2 new pieces of artwork between those 3 cards.
Classic.
I know.
Classic Cascadia. I love it.
I think maybe I sent you the picture of that, but it's like,
no,
are you kidding me?
didn't.
Like, you could have just commissioned one more piece of art for each one. It's not like that drives up the price of the game. It's a one-time commission fee.
Yeah.
To I don't know. Anyway, so that's that's just kind of funny. But then the landmarks that it adds, there's there's like 5 different terrain types. There's like mountains, rivers, whatnot. Those 5 things. There's a landmark for each one, and depending on number of players is how many landmarks of each you play with. So a 2-player game, you add 2 landmarks of each terrain type. And then once you make a terrain corridor, which is like just a grouping of the same terrain type, if you get 5 tiles with that, then you get to place a landmark, which just adds you some unique scoring options. Is really all it is.
Mm-hmm.
So, it added a little bit of variety to the game, a little bit of freshness, but it didn't like
revolutionize.
Yeah, it didn't revolutionize the game.
Mm-hmm.
So I'd say if you really like Cascadia, I think it's probably worth getting, but I was hoping that it would make it, extra interesting.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Yeah. Fantasies and Futures. I've already played with this before, but we played another Tapestry game with Fantasies and Futures, which just adds civilization mats and then little city mats. But it's got some pretty fun civilizations you can play with. Like that one I told you about. I sent you the picture, but for the audience, it's the Elder Ones. And what it lets you do is each income turn, it's pretty basic. You can either gain a free resource or gain 2 tapestry cards. And then after your 5th and final income turn, you can trade in up to 6 tapestry cards to get 2 resources each. So if you play your cards right, literally, you can end up with an additional 12 resources to do extra actions with at the end of the game.
You know what's weird about tapestries? I feel like sometimes I end the game with like 8 tapestry cards, and sometimes I end it with like 2.
Yeah.
So imagine having that civilization and not ending the game with 6.
That would suck. Yeah, that
Big
would totally
time.
suck. But again, the options you have every income turn is either take a resource or draw 2 tapestry cards. So you can try to, forego that resource opportunity and take more to the end.
Which in and of itself is a really nice ability, because sometimes you just have bum tapestry cards in your hand.
Yeah,
especially towards the beginning of the game.
Or if you really want to get like a trap card, so you're a little bit safer with your outpost. Yeah. But I kept track of the points I got after my 5th income turn, when normally you're done with the game, and I got 171 points from those turns, which is a little bit OP,
ridiculous.
But it was dope. It was.
What was your final score? Were you over?
It wasn't a record, no, but I got 366.
Okay, wow,
yeah,
that's crazy.
Yeah, it was pretty fun.
I need to play Tapestry again. It's been too long.
Oh yeah, because you took it with you, right?
Oh, for sure. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
And I have the first 2 expansions.
Okay. Yeah. So you got to get the last one. Got to get it, man. Got to get it. And then we played King Domino Duel. Thank you for that. That was a nice little fun present.
It was the most like spur of the moment. Like, oh, okay, $10, sure.
Yeah, just throw it in there. Might as well. I didn't even know it existed.
Me neither, dude.
it was okay. It's not just King Domino Duel. It's King Domino the Roll and Write.
Okay. Yeah.
It was just sort of the very basic abstract King Domino experience. And it was fine. Yeah, like I'm not going to toss it, but it's not like, wow, I want to pull out King Domino Duel today, man.
Yeah.
So yeah, it was fine. And last but not least, although sort of least because it's just a mini version of a different game, Kirsten and I are in the middle of playing Horizons of Spirit Island that we got.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Just yesterday. It's identical to Spirit Island in functionality. It's just it trims the physical structure of it down a little bit. It streamlines the setup, and the 5 spirits are all different, so you get some different play styles. So yeah, it's fine.
Wow, so you go like 4 episodes in a row with nothing to talk about, and all of a sudden you got a laundry list.
I know, man. Get back into games a little bit, I guess. Because arriving tomorrow is Ezra and Nehemiah, the White Castle, and the Red Cathedral. So, gonna have some stuff to talk about.
That's awesome. We'll have to talk about the White Castle soon, man.
Yeah.
All right.
Make it a game of the week.
I'll try and blaze through mine here as quickly as possible. Played Between Two Castles of Mad King Ludwig. This is an absolute true blend of Between Two Cities and Castles of Mad King Ludwig. And basically, if you like both of those games, you'll of course like this one. But it's a very strange scoring tile laying game, basically, with the addition of you're building 2 different cities, in between the people that are sitting next to you. It's all right. I would say that for me, okay, I'm gonna already retcon what I already said. I already said that like if you like the other two, then you would like this. You'd probably like it, but I almost feel like it makes more sense to own Between Two Cities and to own Castles of Mad King Ludwig separately and not own this, which might sound crazy, but
makes
Castles
it kind of a
King,
useless game then.
It's a cool idea, but I feel like it doesn't work well with groups because there's so much thinking you kind of have to do. Unless everybody knows how to play the game well, there's going to be at least 1 or 2 people that don't understand some symbology or how some scoring works, because the scoring's a lot more complicated than Between Two Cities. And so that slows everything down for everybody. Even though it's simultaneous play, you still have to wait to pass tiles, So it slows everything down for everybody in that sense. And so it really works best at 2, honestly, which might sound weird, but like the 2-player variant is better than the group variant or the group play. But actually at 2 players, I'd rather play the original Castles of Mad King Ludwig. So it's just a weird in-between thing. Not a bad game, but nah. Then I played Earth, and I was really disappointed by Earth. Like, this was so high on my wish list that I almost bought it multiple times, just like spur of the moment, almost bought it. So finally had a chance to play it. Somebody else brought it to a game night, and I was just really disappointed. It's so chaotic, and it doesn't have a tight economy, really. It's kind of just like, you can kind of do what you want most of the time, and there's not a lot of like really kind of crunching numbers and like really trying to maximize. Some of that's there, but the game itself is kind of just so overwhelming with the scoring opportunities, because there's like 4 public scoring opportunities, and then like a couple more different scoring goals that you're trying to keep a track of, and then you have a personal one, and then you can be playing scoring cards into your tableau, and these are all end game like scoring things or mid game competitive scoring. And so you're just thinking about that the whole time, which is like 12 different plates to juggle. But then on top of that, it doesn't have any tightness to the economy. So I don't know, it's just kind of disappointing,
That's sad, because that's pretty new, right?
Yeah, I mean, and it's so hot. At least it was, anyways. I think it might have won either like the Board Game Geek, Game of the Year or something. It won a ton of awards and all this. So, I was pretty excited to try it. But it's not for everyone, right? So it's not for everyone.
So do you think it actually, like, was it just not a game for you, or do you think this is actually going to kind of drop off the radar pretty quick as a disappointment?
No, I don't think it will, because I think for a lot of people it really replaces games like Terraforming Mars, for example. Okay. For me, it absolutely does not, but I can see that for a lot of people, this will be the permanent substitute for games like that. So, and it's not a bad game. It's just, I just really didn't enjoy it that much. Yeah.
All right. Hey, I got a question for you. What do you like more, TM or Underwater Cities?
It's actually a hard question. I think Underwater Cities is the better game, honestly.
Okay. All right.
But Terraforming Mars, I almost would say I like the experience of playing it more. Simply because, at least for me, it's always been such a faster game than Underwater Cities. But Underwater Cities is a much more interesting design, I would say, hands down.
Yeah. I feel you, though. Yeah. We don't have to get off topic with that. I was just curious. What else have you played?
Okay, Witchstone. This is a Reiner Knizia, I believe, and it's basically just literally a mix of mechanisms. It does have one cool element, which is that you kind of have these domino style pieces that have two different like actions printed on them, and you place one into this little grid. And you can trigger some actions that way, and then you can, on your next turn, place another domino, and you're trying to connect the same symbol multiple times, because when you do that, you get to take that action at that strength. And so you're trying to create chains of actions with these little dominoes. And so that's a pretty cool system. I like that. And then all those actions that are available to you are then just like kind of different mechanisms, like a little rondelle and a little networking system and a little... not really pick up to deliver, but kind of almost. And then there's some tracks, and it's just stuff like that. All these little mechanisms that connect to that one mechanism of placing dominoes. It's not terribly complicated, even though it kind of seems like it when you look at it. It's actually a pretty straightforward, simple game, and I enjoyed it, but I don't know if it has more than a few plays in it for me. So,
What's it called again?
Witch Stone, all one word though.
All right. Okay. All right.
And then,
Cool.
This is something, so you mentioned you were looking for kind of medium weight games that don't take too long to play, but still interesting and complex-ish. I would say Witchstone falls into that category. I'm not a huge fan of the theme. It's just kind of like whatever. It's just witches and stuff like that, which is not that interesting. But I think it kind of falls into that genre of game. So, and then last but not least is a game I've now played twice. And I am starting to like it quite a bit because I'm finally starting to wrap my head around it after the second play. And this is Arborea. This game is insane. I'll try and be brief here, but it's a delayed movement system. I believe this is something Tzolk'in did ages ago. But basically you have like 4 different tracks that you can place your workers on. And then throughout your turn and maybe the next player's turns, those tracks will move a bit. And you can have your workers jump off the tracks, and they kind of slide down this web of tracks that come off those 4 main tracks, and you trigger all these actions, and then the worker comes back to you. But you don't place your worker and do that. You place your worker, and it kind of moves down this conveyor belt, and then at a certain point, you can jump off whenever you want to. Obviously, the further you go, the better the action, the better the string of actions you're going to trigger. So you can kind of jump off whenever you want. But it's not going to be the turn that you place it. It might not even be the next turn. It might be 2 turns later that you actually jump off and trigger. And so there's so much, and you have multiple of these little workers kind of going all simultaneously. And so there's so much forward thinking that's involved. And then on top of that, there's 4 main tracks, and they all split to 2 different tracks. So that's like 8 different sets of tracks kind of that you have to all take in. And so that part, just that in its of itself is just insane. And then there's so many other elements to the game. I'm not even going to try to get into it. But that core mechanism is crazy. And like I said, after the second game, which I just played today, actually, I feel like I'm finally wrapping my head around how to strategically plow my way through the game. And man, it's really interesting. It's just a crazy game. So Arborea,
you sent me the picture of the board. It looks so busy.
It is
so much going on.
It really, and the art is really cool. I really like the look of the game, and yeah, it's really cool. I'm looking forward to playing it more. I feel like it's a game that I could really come to, I feel like it could be a top 15 game for me after a few more plays. So yeah, really liking it.
I might have to give that a try. Although I would like to draw your attention to not Arborea with an E, but I found Arborea with an I, ranked 17,405.
All right, wait, just 1 second, loading.
Yep.
Arborea with an I.
Yep.
Oh no. Arborea 2017?
That's it. Yep. I was trying to find the game you were talking about. This is the first one I pulled up, and you were talking about how it was such a good game. I'm like, 17,000. This can't be the same game.
Hey, this looks fun. This looks like a real game. Got some nice art.
It's a big boy game. Yeah.
Yeah. Looks like a yellow game, kind of.
Got some good tokens on there.
All right, this is terrible content, but all right. Thank you for drawing my attention to that, Cody.
Yeah.
The last thing I played this week is our game of the week, so let's move on.
All right, Nate. I guess, should I start off with this? I probably played it more than you have at this point.
Well, I've only played
Bonsai.
it once, and it was like a month ago, actually, so.
Well, I've played it twice, and the last time was like a week ago, so fight me.
I'll fight you.
Yeah. All right. Oh, no. Guess what I had pulled up in BGG was all the variants on Bonsai. Now I have to pull up the correct variant because there's Bonsai Samurai, which sounds pretty dope.
Wait, variants? But these are like actual different versions of the game.
Other entries on BGG that contain
okay.
the name Bonsai.
Not official
Bonsai Samurai.
offshoots of this game.
No, that would be cool. But this is a game from last year, 2023, currently ranked 2006.
Good
and yeah, it's just good year. NBA Live 2004. Anyway.
What? What was that?
That was a computer game I grew up playing, dude.
Oh,
NBA
my
Live
goodness.
2004. Oh, yeah.
EA
So classic.
Sports. It's in the game.
The game. Challenge everything. Anyway. Yeah. Thanks for joining our early 2000s PC game review podcast. Today we're going to talk about Star Wars Jedi Knight 2 Dark Forces. No, Jedi Knight Dark Forces 2.
Too late, you screwed it up. Bonsai.
I think that's from the 90s anyway. Bonsai. BGG's description: take on the role of expert bonsai masters intent on growing their own bonsai. And it's exactly that, but it looks pretty cool. A very creative game where you are taking tiles that you are acquiring that are either wood, greenery, flowers, or fruit, although they look like peaches, so I'm just going to call them peaches.
Sure.
Come on. I'm sure you called them peaches while you're playing, right? Not
Actually, I was
fruit.
thinking oranges.
Oranges.
Yeah.
I don't know. Do they have citrus in Japan? Maybe they do. I don't know. Anyway, you're taking these pieces, and you're drafting them. Let me get.
Yeah, that's pretty much it. All right. So should we go to the pros?
I was trying to remember how you draft them. I'm pulling up the picture here now.
Oh my goodness, Cody.
Well,
You played this more recently than me.
I actually got distracted because I was checking my audio volume and I thought it went low, but it didn't actually. I'll just backtrack a little bit. I'll restart so this is fluid. Have fun editing this episode, bro.
Yeah, man.
All right. So Bonsai is a game where you are pretending to be a dope Japanese person who's growing a bonsai tree. And how do you do this? You draft bonsai tiles, the pieces of your tree. So you're going to draft either wood, greenery, flowers, or fruit, which looks like peaches to me. Although a very strong argument could be made for apricots, or apricots, however you want to say it.
Oranges.
And you're yeah. And while I said you're drafting the tiles, you're actually not directly drafting the tiles. You are drafting a card each turn. So each turn, you can either cultivate your little tree and use the abilities you already have, or take a card from the board, which has the potential underneath it to give you some extra pieces. And all these cards do different things. Some of the cards, it's all one deck, but they're going to be scoring cards, or there might be tiles that just directly give you pieces, or they're cards that let you play those pieces, or they're cards that just give you a stronger capacity for holding pieces later in the game. That's basically the core function of the game. There's some competitive objectives that have a bit of unique system to them that I'll get to in my pros and cons of the game. It is it has a strong aesthetic to the game. That's probably the main selling factor for it. What you see on the box cover is basically what you get in the game. It's a very well put together. It's very clever how you, in order to score the game well, because you score based off of how well you produce your tree and placement for the fruit and the flowers and whatnot, you actually have to make a little tree. Like, it makes sense. Wood connects to wood, green connects to wood, fruit, flowers touches green.
See, Cody knows his plants, you
game.
can tell.
Yeah. Yeah.
I will
I'm
say,
a true horticulturist.
none of my cons have anything to do with the production value or the look of the game. So,
Yeah.
I think, I guess I'll say one of my
hard to argue with that.
first points is that the game looks nice, and it absolutely does. Yeah.
All right, that's very good. I have a bunch of little points of things I like
go
about
for
it.
it.
So I'm going to agree with you, pretty aesthetic, and I'm going to cross that off as 1 point so I can skip to another one. I like the progress card track thing. The track, it's kind of the standard Shem Phillips mechanism, or I mean other games do this too, where once you take a card out of the grid, it gets filled up with the cards behind it. And so the cards that have been there the longest have some incentive to take them, and the cards that are newest onto the board are going to be like more expensive. This flips it a little bit, where there's no cost to take any of the cards, but rather cards that have been sitting on the tray longer, you get more stuff for taking them. So the card farthest to the right, so the last card there, allows you to take 2 additional tokens that you can then later play into your tree. I think that's cool, how instead of... It's a reverse incentive structure where you don't get punished for taking different things. You just get rewarded for taking certain things. I like that.
That's also one of my points, so I'll just cross it off and agree with you that I definitely I definitely like that. It kind of takes that mechanism and flips it on its head a little bit, where it's like, oh, instead of the cost of the card just decreasing, there are no costs and the bonus is just getting better, right? So that I do like that we flip that on its head, and instead of negative interaction with the drafting mechanism, you have only positive interaction. Kind of a cool idea.
Yeah, it's functionally sort of the same, but it
really
feels
is.
different.
Either way, it's a self-balancing feature, right? Another thing I really like is and I don't know, I'm sure other games have done this, but I can't think of any, is the basically claim or pass scoring goals, where you have these, like, I think you put 3 of them out, probably depends on the player count, but you put out some scoring goals, and they each have different tiers. Like, okay, if you get, like, whatever it is, like 5 fruits, you can claim this for however many points. Or you can pass and say, no, I don't want that. I'm going to try and get a higher one. But once somebody takes one, it's gone. So you're trying to get as many points as you can, trying to figure out, okay, well, am I actually going to get enough fruits to, like, get the highest one? And if so, am I going to beat everybody else to it that hasn't already claimed a lower one, right? So I really like that system. I think that's a great kind of competitive, but still everyone can kind of get points way of scoring.
Yep, I'm just going to have to cross that one off too. They're called the renounceable objectives. You can renounce...
all right.
Yeah, technically that's the term. Once you complete a certain stage, you meet a requirement to take one of the objective cards, you can pass and try to go for the next one. I think that's cool. Not just because of the competition with other people, but just that even if you yourself don't qualify for the next level of the tier, you then get no points for it because you could have taken the easier one. So it's kind of a fun little decision. That
Push your luck almost a little bit.
It kind of is. Yeah. I mean, it's... You know now what you have to do in order to score, but yeah, you're not certain if you'll be able to do it.
And you know how close everyone else is as well. So it's an informed push your luck decision.
Yeah. Yeah, I like that too. Which means I get to talk about the next thing, which is I like the placement concept for how you score the tiles in the game. So I think the wood pieces maybe score 1 point. Either
I think
0
that's
or
greenery.
1.
I think wood is 0, greenery is 1, but I could be wrong.
I thought greenery was like 3 or something. Some of the cards you can get will let you score points based off of specific tiles that you have, so maybe that's what I'm thinking of. Yeah. But the basic ones, they're pretty simple. They just score whatever they give you. But then I like how the high scoring pieces, like the fruit and the flowers, they have a requirement in order to score, in addition to the requirement for being placed. So fruit, all they do, they just have to be placed in between 2 greenery, so that's your requirement. But if 2 fruit touch, none of them score, which is interesting. They're worth the most. They give you like 7 or 8 points. But if you just do one little misplacement, you get no points for it. The blossoms are similar in that they score for each empty side touching them. So they can score anywhere from 0 to 5 points, which is the second highest scoring tile you can get. I just think it's cool how the high scoring ones can be penalized if you don't play them well, unlike the low-scoring ones.
Which makes sense, because otherwise you would only go for the high-scoring ones and you'd completely ignore, the greenery, for example. Whereas the greenery is like, yeah, it's not as many points, but you don't have to put any effort into, you just have to have the wood to put the greenery on,
Yeah. Have any other likes?
Last for me is something that I always appreciate in games, quick turns. This game's very snappy. Either you draft or you place. And if you place, yeah, you might need to puzzle some stuff out, but kind of the next person can already start going, right? Because you kind of sit there and you kind of just like, all right, I'm going to place these pieces. Where am I going to put them? Blah, 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 blah. And the next person can probably just go ahead with their turn while you're doing that. But either way, snappy turns, which I like.
Yep. I agree. I like that too. Very quick playing. My final thing that I like, Actually sort of pairs with sort of a neutral, almost dislike aspect of the game, which is you have all these cards, just this deck full of cards. You have to do something with all of them. And some of them are going to be less useful. I like that some of those cards are scoring cards, which can make some of the other less useful cards still useful. It's cool. Like maybe you don't need to take any more tiles. Like maybe you're already at capacity for how many tiles you can hold. But the only card like worth taking is a card that lets you gain more tiles. There's probably some other reason you have to be taking it. Like this example where you have a scorecard that lets you gain points for taking that card. So I like that it gives some use to cards that might otherwise not be useful. It's a good little balance.
I guess so. I kind of almost want to already segue to negative, so we might as well do that just with kind of what you're talking about.
Do it.
Along that same vein, I feel like, and I only played this once at 4 players, so this is my perspective on this. It's a bit too random at 4 players. And I believe you've only played this at 2, so I think we have very different perspectives on this. But with 4 players, it can be very hard to get the scoring cards, period. Because unless they, like, people snatch them up when they come out, even if they're on, like, the least rewarding spot. But see, that's the thing. Because that drafting system is just about rewards, not about costs. You can always take any card. There's pretty much nothing that hinders you from doing that. So whenever scoring cards came out, people would always take them. I didn't get any scoring cards in the game that we played because it just never happened. Like I always wanted to take one and I literally never could. So I got kind of unlucky, but also it's like you're playing with 4 people and whenever one comes out, somebody's probably going to want it before it comes back to your turn, you know? And so
Yeah.
It's a bit random at 4. I feel like this is probably best at 2. I don't think it benefits from being a 4-player game really in any way. Other than that, there's a little more interaction on that, what'd you say, renounceable scoring. That's a little more interesting probably with 4 than it is with 2.
So I have an interesting perspective that relates to that. Because yes, I have just played the 2-player games. But in that sense, I found that the game was a bit directionless starting off. How it's like you don't really know what to do exactly, like because you don't have a starting power or anything. You also don't know what you're going to get later in the game. So when you have your first choice, you just kind of do whatever is there. You just take what's available. So almost like the game plays you a little bit, at least at the beginning.
Maybe,
so I found that a little bit distasteful because I like to start a game knowing what my strategy is going to be based off of what is already visible in the luck of the draw, what I already know, like abilities or powers or actions I have available to me. So that's a little bit less appealing for how the game starts.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah, I can definitely see that. I think for me, I just was like, I sat down and I was like, okay, I'm just going to go for fruit. I'm just going to do fruit. That's what I'm going to focus on. I'm just going to try and get as many points off of fruit as I can. So I just kind of made that decision from the beginning. But then it's like, okay, well, no fruit cards come out. So it's like, oh, well, you got to, change your strategy a little bit, right? So,
Yeah.
But my biggest problem with the game is that I feel like there's almost no replayability unless you just find the theme so delightful and the casual tile placement so delightful. Because I feel like there's only a couple different strategies that you can really pursue. And then you've tried everything. Like, okay, well, you can try fruit, or you can try flowers, you can try greenery, or a combination, right? Yeah. But other than that, there's not a whole lot to play around with, right? There's not a whole lot of different formations of tree that it feels like it's totally sandboxy. It's like, wow, I can do whatever I want with these pieces. But actually, I'm not really sure that there's a whole lot of variety that's going to happen. It's like, well, you build a trunk and you build greenery around it, and then you put some flowers on it or some fruit on it, right? Like that's what you're going to do every time. You really can't do anything else, right? Yeah. And so it actually feels like it would get very repetitive. And then that paired with the like random cards coming out, not sure what you're going to get kind of a thing. Like, oh, okay, well, if I get scoring cards, then I have something that I'm kind of gives me more direction that I'm working towards. But if I don't, then I don't have that, So there's like 2 or 3 different strategies, and then the rest of the game is pretty random.
Yeah, I'll kind of agree with that. I mean, you do at least have some direction, now that I'm thinking about it, from the objectives that are available, because those are randomized for every game. But that's really kind of all you have starting off with. I will say, do you remember a while ago we did it was like top 5 most relaxing games
Uh-huh.
Board Banter. I feel like this could kind of qualify. Maybe not as much. Like, obviously, you had a stressful experience, like trying to get the scoring cards in a 4-player game, not knowing if you'd get them or not. But I think as a 2-player game, this is pretty chill, and it's especially has a nice look to everything, a nice appearance. It's very calm. It's very nice.
Yeah, and
And
it's
so
it's
I feel
not
like it could
punishing.
fit that. Yep, true.
Coming back to that market again, it's not like you have to try and figure out like, oh, I need to budget in a certain type of currency so that I can get cards, whatever. Usually I prefer games with that. This kind of comes back to what I was saying about Earth, where it's like they're really, that economy isn't very tight, and so you don't have to stress about it too much. And I tend to like that more in games, like restrict me a little bit more so that I have to make more interesting decisions. This game really doesn't have that too much, but that's fine if you just want something casual, you know.
Sure, yeah. Do you have any more dislikes?
No more cons. No more cons. No.
No more cons. Okay, I kind of have like 1.5 left. I noticed that throughout the game, you sort of want and need like every card. You need to do everything, and this kind of plays off the directionless thing I was saying at the beginning. Is if you need the pieces to make your tree, and then you need the turn to play those pieces. So you need storage in order to play the pieces, and capacity for how many pieces you can put out. And then you want to try to make future actions stronger that let you play those pieces better. But then you also need to score points. So it's like you have to be able to do everything. And so it kind of makes the whole game a little bit murky, in that kind of the same, my first dislike that I was describing. It's just you don't really know what to do at first. And even as the game progresses, it's just like, can I take all the things? And so I noticed by the time I got to the end of the game, because of that sense throughout the whole game, it felt a little bit dissatisfying of like, I wish I could have done a couple more things or been able to just complete this final objective.
But not in a good way, right? Because a lot of times games have that in a good way, where it's like, I can't quite do everything. I have to make tough decisions. And this, it's like, I couldn't quite do everything. That sucks.
Exactly. Yeah. Well, you can't quite do everything because it felt like you had to do everything for throughout the whole course of the game. Yeah. And then my final thing, this is just a little nitpick. It's not really the game's fault. This is what's going to be inherent to any tile laying game. It's the old bump your board and everything explodes problem. Because you have all these little tiny hexagons, and if you accidentally bump something, you got to put it all back together, and it sucks.
Didn't have that problem, but I know what you're talking about. I know what you mean.
Yeah.
What I would say about this game in conclusion, and the way you were just describing it, makes me think of another game, very similar theme, Four Gardens, which has a very similar kind of take resources, but you can only hold X amount of resources, so then you need to use those resources to accomplish blah, 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 whatever. This feels like a better version of Four Gardens to me. To me, this is like, you definitely don't need to own both, and this is the one to own, not Four Gardens.
Yeah. Yeah.
They feel similar enough
Gardens
to
for
me.
free. I got Four Gardens for free and then sold it. I bought this game and I kept it. So there you go.
There you go.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's Bonsai. Love it or hate it.
Nate, no. It's Bonsai, please.
Bonsai.
Yeah. There you go.
So we're back talking about our better halves onto our list here. So I believe the actual definition, the actual title of our last list was 5 games we wish our wives liked. And now we have 5 games we wish our wives did not like. And
yes,
I feel like I need to put an asterisk at the end of this. And I'm assuming you probably have a very similar perspective on this, which is that you and I are both very lucky to begin with here, that we have like that our a significant other is somebody who likes playing games and spends as much time as they do playing games with us. So let's put a little caveat at this and say, I don't know if I'd say that I actually wish she didn't like these games. I'm glad she likes anything, and I'm like very blessed to have a wife who will sit down and play heavy Euros with me as well as all the other stuff. So, you know, I don't want people to be like, "Oh, look at you, like being picky about what your spouse likes to play. Mine won't even play anything harder than Uno, right?" So, you know, just a little, take it with a grain of salt.
It's very noble of you to make that stipulation, that caveat, and I 100% agree. Yeah, because my list, even all the games on my list, I don't despise them or anything. It's mostly because the opportunity cost of I could have played a different game instead of this
Right,
one.
sure,
That makes me sad. And I do have a quick little anecdote. Remember how last episode when we were talking about this, we were talking a little bit about our wives, and we were saying how like they don't listen anymore, so it doesn't matter.
Wait, what?
I don't know
They
if
don't
you recall
listen
this.
to what?
To the podcast, or at least my
Oh,
wife
yeah,
doesn't
okay, right.
anymore. Yeah. I think the comment I had made was like, I can replace my wife with a game app now that I can play on a Board Game Arena or whatever and play games. Well, Kirsten saw the title of this podcast, which was Board Game Marriage Story, because she still sees the notifications of the videos being released. She's like, oh, I should watch this one. And then she listened to it.
Yes. Great. And the fallout.
Oh,
Okay.
yeah. So she'll listen to this one too, I'm sure.
Absolutely.
Hi, honey.
All right. Yes. Hello, Kirsten. Okay. Moving on. Cody, why don't you start then? Why don't you start off with,
all right.
with your number 5 game? You should probably also say how you sorted your games that you wish Kirsten didn't like.
Yeah. I didn't necessarily sort the games by like how much I dislike them, because the number 1 game that I have on my list, arguably, I might like more than my number 5 game. Hard to say. It's more, again, just the opportunity cost.
Mm-hmm.
So this game, maybe I enjoyed it a certain amount, but I would rather have played a different game that maybe Kirsten isn't as intrigued by, and so would play this game instead. So that it's basically that disparity how I arranged it. So my number 5 is a game that I need to play again and pull out, and that we've talked about, and that I bought, and then I sold it to you, and then you sold it back to me. This is Euphoria, Build a Better Dystopia.
Wow, Kirsten likes this, huh?
She does like this one. I don't think she was like devastated when I traded it to you, but she did enjoy playing it, and so
I feel like
it's been sitting on her shelf.
I feel like I vaguely remember a scenario. Oh, maybe it was with a different game. Okay, I'm not gonna say it because the other game might be on your list. But there was a game that you sold to me that she was kind of like, oh, why did you not consult me before?
that is a game that will make the list.
Okay,
Yep,
I thought so. All right.
Yep.
So, but it's not Euphoria. Okay.
Nope. Yeah. So yeah, number 5, Euphoria. I'm actually kind of looking forward to giving it another try, and that's why it's not any lower, because maybe I'll just be dissatisfied when I play it again. But it's been so long, and it's kind of a unique game, and it has some good production value to it. I actually am looking forward to playing it again. Yeah, that's why it made number 5.
My list is sorted just by how annoyed I am that she likes the game, basically.
You are.
How annoyed I am that she likes the game as much as she does. So my number 5 is one of my favorite games of all time. This is Ark Nova. I actually like Ark Nova a lot. Now, here's why it's on the list. It's probably on his number 1 favorite game, even though she's really bad at ranking stuff. I would say it's her favorite game. The reason it's on the list is because if I ever present it as an option, she'll always pick it. Like, it's like, oh, do you want to play Ark Nova or Underwater Cities? Why am I even asking? Do you want to play Ark Nova or Dune Imperial? Why am I even asking? Like, it's always, I have to be like, okay, pick a heavy Euro, not Ark Nova that you want to play, you know? It's like, It's like, so it's kind of like a little bit tongue-in-cheek pick because I like the game a lot. We've played it a ton.
Okay.
I love that it's one of her favorite games, if not her favorite. But it's like sometimes we need to play other heavy games.
All right then. And you got the expansion for this, right?
Marine Worlds is a fantastic expansion. I love it.
Okay. I need to play it again. You're welcome, by the way, for trading you Ark Nova.
I don't know what you got for me, but I feel like I came out ahead.
I don't remember. Was it Stronghold? Stronghold second
Ooh,
edition?
it might have been. Might have been.
Still haven't touched it. Could have been Black Angel too, though.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Hey, actually, Stronghold, that made the list for top 5 games I wish my wife liked or would like.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So yeah. My number 4 is a game that you very astutely deduced should probably make this list. Yes, Nate, that is Meadow. A game that I guess I didn't realize that Kirsten liked it so much, or she just didn't. I don't know. She knows that the whole gaming hobby is a bit more instituted by me, so maybe she just didn't feel like she had the authority to say, like, actually keep Meadow.
Do we need to dig a little deeper here, Kirsten? If you need to talk to me or Anna, you know how to contact us, so we can talk. if there's an issue here.
Yeah, she's got that. So yeah, she likes Meadow, and yep. She was sad that I got rid of it. I don't remember what I got from you. It probably would have been like Euphoria
Root?
or something. I don't know.
Maybe Root. Euphoria.
It might have been Root, actually. Yeah.
All right. My number 4 is a game that I like a lot. However, we do not own the expansions for it, and so I'm not terribly keen on playing it, and Anna likes it quite a bit. Carcassonne. If I had Inns and Cathedrals and Traders and Builders, and if I had those two expansions for Carcassonne, I'd be more excited about bringing it out. Just base Carcassonne is a bit meh, and I don't know. To me, it's never a very fulfilling experience because I'm so used to playing with expansions, which are more interesting and make the game longer. Base Carcassonne always feels just too straightforward and not long enough. So, yeah.
I've only ever played base Carcassonne, so it's not in my mind a particularly incredible game. But I really do need to play like the big box expansion.
There's some good ones out there for sure.
Well, my number 3 is a game that I don't despise or anything. And I even played the expansion for it that I talked about earlier in new games I played. This is Cascadia. The reason it made number 3 on my list is because we got this game at the same time we got another somewhat similar game, Acropolis. Kirsten does not like Acropolis very much. And they're both kind of tile laying games. And again, we got them at the same time. So she would much rather play Cascadia. And so I'm sad because that's time we could have spent playing Acropolis, which I am excited about. So dang it, Cascadia.
And Acropolis was on your other list.
Yeah, I just realized it was. So I guess I cheated a little bit, but a good crossover.
Yeah, they're each other's counterparts in your collection.
They are.
My number 3 is
What's
a game.
Your number? Oh, okay.
Oh, yeah. I'm a little bit ahead of you there, buddy. My number 3 is a game I probably would have sold by now if Anna didn't hold me off, stave me off from cashing in on this game that I probably couldn't sell for $20. Not because it's not worth it, but because nobody wants it. Messina 1347 is a game that nobody talks about, even though I think it's actually a really solid design. And I moderately enjoy it, but it's never... I think we've played it like 3 times, and it's never really been a satisfying experience. It's actually a surprisingly complex, intricate game, but it just hasn't been satisfying all the times I've played it. And I think Anna likes it a little more because I've mentioned kind of like, oh, should I add Messina to this stack of games I'm going to try and sell? And she always held me off. So it stays in the collection until further notice.
Okay. Maybe I'll give that a try at some point. I've had mixed experiences with Vladimir Suki.
Same.
Because Underwater Cities is amazing, but then Last Will, which I was very excited about, it was just kind of like, eh.
Yeah, Last Will is meh. Messina 1347 is better than Last Will. Pulsar 2849 was a big miss. We played that twice, and I just, I sold it. I didn't like it that much.
Evacuation's pretty good, pretty different, and pretty good. I'll say that. All right. My number 2 again is a game that I don't despise or anything, but it takes a long time to set up, so many pieces to sort and put out, and then when you're done, you have to sort it all again, and the box isn't quite big enough. You have to fit it all back in there, and it's like, yeah, the game's fun when you're playing it, but it's just like
not worth it.
Else. Dinosaur Island. That's what I'm talking about here. Yeah, it's a good game. Like, let me check my top 100. See about where it fell.
I'm gonna guess 49.
No, this is 27.
Yo, what? This is on your list.
This is actually. Whoa, I have this above Expeditions. I need to fix that.
Oh, you gotta figure something out there, Cody. Technical issues. Cut that.
I haven't updated my list in a while. Okay, so I guess I like it decently and all that, according to my list. I guess, which is what I reference for my own preferences. But yeah, it's one of those games where it's a bigger game, and we don't often have a whole bunch of time to spend on a bigger game, and there's a lot of other games I'd rather play before this one.
Yeah.
But Kirsten really likes this one, so every now and then we pull it out, because I'm a good husband, dang it.
There you go.
And so it also made number 2 on my list. There you go.
That should be the moral of this list. Despite the list, be a good husband still.
There you go.
My number 2 is... man, I wish I'd kept Space Base because of my number 2. because Anna likes it, and it's a worse version of Space Base. This is Machikoro.
Okay.
It's actually like the forerunner to Space Base, like definitely. And yes, it's like there's a market of cards. You roll some dice, and the dice, depending on what you roll, you produce things from your tableau, which usually almost always gives you money, and then you'll use that money to buy new cards, and you keep going until somebody completes an objective. It's just a lot of dice rolling,
Yeah.
Listen, again, I have very good memories of playing it because it was with us through most of last year while we were traveling, so we played it lots of different places. It was fun, but yeah, not something I want to come back to so often now.
Is this your equivalent of tabloot, where like you put a blade of grass in it from each place you took it to?
No, there's no room because it's the German version, which is a smaller box than the English printing, and there's an expansion in it, and we fit it all in one box, like somehow, because Anna's a whiz with crafting anything, so she made it all fit. So no, it would literally
close each time.
Literally could not fit a blade of grass, Cody.
Okay,
that's how
pretty
full
serious.
It is. Yeah.
Speaking of blades of grass, my number one. Bet you know where I'm going with this.
I'm guessing it's nature themed.
It is nature themed, and you'll see some blades of grass in here. No, Nate, it's not meadow. This is Floriferous, a game in a long line of herbivorous games. I don't know what else there is. There's like herbaceous and then something else.
Yeah, I have no idea.
It's a series, man. Yeah, there's multiple games. Floriferous is not a terrible game, but it's very light, and it's just not all that intriguing to me. But Kirsten really likes it. And so, in the same way that Dinosaur Island kind of occupies the slot of taking up space or taking up time that we could spend on other big games, Floriferous is one of the ones that if we're going to pull out a smaller game, Kirsten is usually pretty excited about. I'm like, we do Seven Wonders Duel or something. Although she does like Seven Wonders Duel a lot. It's just it kind of fits the mold. I'm just not super big, I think, on the watercolor appearance of all of it. And then the overall strategy that you're playing, it's one of the games where if you like make a mistake or just because of luck you don't get one of the cards you were hoping for, it can mean the difference of like 25% of your score. And it's just
again, the same with Bonsai, it's probably better at 2 than it is at 4, right? For that reason.
I don't know, because you have less rows that you can select from in a 2-player game as well. You only play with like 3, but in a 4-player game you play with like 5, I think. So it kind of balances. But yeah, that's how I feel.
Not a great game. I agree. Not a bad game. Not a great game.
A neutral game.
You own all of the games on your list that you just this list?
Not Meadow, no. Okay.
Yeah, right.
That's a sore subject. You own that one.
My number one on this list I do not own, and that is actually part of the reason that is my number one, because Anna likes this game and she likes it a lot more than I do. I don't like the game that much. I think it's okay. I don't like it very much. I think the setup and takedown is super annoying, and so for that reason I wouldn't want to own it. This is World Wonders. World Wonders is listen, I think the design is actually good. I don't personally really enjoy the game that much, and the setup and takedown is very annoying. And so it's this weird situation where, like you mentioned earlier, you're kind of like, you and I are the hobbyists, and our wives like to play games and they play games with us. So I'm in this weird situation where I'm like, okay, should I prioritize maybe purchasing this or seeking out a copy? I really don't want to, because I don't want to own the game, but Anna likes it, and she'd probably be happy if I bought it, but I really don't want to own it. But maybe I should, so it's like this back and forth battle, and so that's part of the reason it hits the number one spot.
Yeah.
Like, have you like experienced anguish over like, should I buy Meadow again?
No.
Husband of the Year award goes to me between the two of us, because I'm at least trying to do the right thing.
No, I had World Wonders because I got it as a review copy from Arcane Wonders, which is funny. There's lots of wonders in there. And yeah, I was kind of similarly like, it seems like a well-designed game, but I didn't super enjoy it.
Yeah.
What I most appreciated about the game, that's what I was trying to find here again as I was reminded of it, I don't remember if I told you, but on the box cover, so the whole game is about designing like wonders and temples and stuff, like building these big cool structures. Sort of like smudged in on one of the walls is text that says AT 1724. Now, AT is not, I don't think, a traditional abbreviation for the Book of Acts, but if you look up Acts 1724, it says, "The God who made the world and everything in it is the Lord of heaven and earth, and does not live in temples built by human hands." And I was like, that must be a very sneaky little piece that they put in there. And I was very impressed by that. And I felt bad getting rid of the game at that point, but I was like, respect, box artist, designer person.
Huh. Interesting. I like that.
Yeah.
I do remember you sent me a picture or something of like that. It was very astute of you to even catch that.
Oh, thank you. It's just randomly right there. It's like, what does this mean? It's like, oh.
Yeah. I mean, it's not obvious. Like, you have to be like looking at the cover, like looking at it,
Yeah. Which, let's be honest, do we ever really look at the cover? I mean, it's not like we buy the game based off of that or anything, right?
Never. So that's our list. And again, take it with a grain of salt. Actually, I wouldn't want to get, well, maybe some of them, but I wouldn't really want to get rid of any of these games because I like that my wife likes them, and I like that she plays games with me, and I really don't want to jeopardize that. So
the only game I might get rid of is Euphoria if we determine that Kirsten doesn't like it that much. But I also don't really feel like getting Meadow again because I didn't enjoy it that much. So. And remember to look both ways before crossing the street, unless it's a one-way and you're willing to assume that people are competent drivers.
Okay, so by that you mean competent drivers, meaning you can just start walking and they'll stop?
No, like if it's a one-way,
like
so
they
you
aren't
only
driving
look
the
one
wrong
direction.
way. Oh, okay.
You're assuming that they're not driving the way, because it's not like I've ever done that before. Yeah.
Okay, I believe you. I'm sure you haven't.
Okay, thanks, man. Thanks, listeners.